Hi. I want to know what you think about the proposal to have the UN take over the administration of the Internet.
Yeah. She brings up a very good point. She asked me about the ICANN being turned over to global governance. Let's again, the euphemism that is now known as global governance. What is global governance? The governance is the UN, global governance. What is the UN? The UN is the OIC, driven by the OIC. You can't be helped. It votes as one block. There's no bigger block at the UN. We have seen Obama, okay, this is Obama. He didn't have to do this. This is his war on free speech. And if you haven't read my first book, The Post-American Presidency, the Obama Administration's War on America, and mine was the first, before Dinesh, no offense over there, because I studied him. I researched him 2007, 2008. I wrote that book in 2008 and 2009. He has turned over the internet. Now you know, first of all, Turkey turned off YouTube to the people, because we now know what's going on in Turkey with Erdogan. And yesterday turned off YouTube, and the day before that turned off Twitter. We know what they're going to do. We see the Saudis prosecute a tweet. We see in Bangladesh hundreds of thousands of Muslims protesting for the death penalty for bloggers. We know what's going to happen. It's terrible. And what can you do in that case? You can contact your congressman, you can contact your senator, and you can tell them to vote against it and to make sure it doesn't go through. Most people don't know that Obama changed the rule on Freedom of Information Act requests. Now, Freedom of Information Act requests that are politically sensitive don't have to be answered. Well, let me ask you something. As a girl who's filed a good number of Freedom of Information Act requests, what Freedom of Information Act request is not politically sensitive? What else do we want to know? So he really has, on multiple fronts, and again, always covertly, sort of like Iran, always by proxy, it's a war on free speech. Even the AP, finally, and it wasn't publicly, it was at a meeting of newspaper editors said, stop accepting the press releases and photographs from the White House, because they've been banned. The AP has been banned. The White House handles its own it's publicity to me, handles its own press, and they said, stop running it, it's propaganda. The AP said that. The lapdogs for that Boulevardier said that.
We can listen to you, we can read your books, but how can we get practical practice in talking to people so aggressively as you do and fighting the fight rather than being afraid to speak up?
I want to say something. First of all, I'm not a professional anything, as you could tell by my accent, okay? I mean, I get called out on that, like, you have to go to school. I'm not going to school. The fact is, I came to this just like you came to this, with a goodness of heart and a real love of freedom. And that will carry you over. I don't care if you're not Churchill. I don't care if you don't know big words. It's like Einstein said, if you can't explain something to a 6-year-old, you don't fully understand it yourself. It's very smart. So if you don't understand something completely, read. The book that I recommend, my book, I don't know there is any book that teaches you how to protest, how to speak to the media. And remember when you're speaking to the media, and you say, oh, I'll never speak to the media. Oh, yes, you will. You're in the hot seat, baby. You just haven't been called on yet, that's all. Remember, when they ask you a question, you don't have to answer their question. You get your talking point out there. You get out there what you want out there. I notice the left does that all the time. They never answer a question. It's my time to speak. Okay, now I'm going to bludgeon everybody to death with my hammer of a tongue. So my advice to that young woman is, first of all, have faith in yourself. Have the courage of your convictions. Believe in your argument. That will take you over. That will take you over. I'll never forget the first time I spoke, it was to a Young American Foundation Midwest conference. I was like, we were there with big people, and I'm like, what am I doing here, you know? But I just spoke from the heart. And that's really all you need to do. You should have talking points. You should always have your best ideas distilled down to its essential oils. So if you have the opportunity to speak, you'll get that in. Because you see, I do this all the time. I will run what the media runs, and then the thing that's in my pocket. Like with Erin Burnett. Erin Burnett had me on regarding the Savage ads. And I had a little tape recorder in my pocket. So she did the interview, and then she only ran, like, whatever. She ran 4 minutes or whatever. So I took her 4 minutes, and on YouTube said, here's the complete interview and what CNN edited out. And that video went to like 100,000 views. That video went so viral that you know what CNN did? Check this out. They put up the whole video. So you never know. You never know when you're going to strike lightning.
Two quick questions. Do you think Israel will end up bombing Iran? And secondly, what do you think of Roger Ailes? What do you think of Roger Ailes?
Iran and Israel. I pray that Israel will wind up bombing Iran. I'll be honest with you, I don't know why they haven't done it already. John McCain had one lucid moment. He had one lucid moment when he started to sing, bomb, 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 Iran. And then he went and posed with Al-Qaeda jihadists in Syria. And we realized it was only a moment. It was like that movie Awakenings. He took L-Dopa for a second. But I think they have to. I think with Israel, it's not an academic conversation. It's not. It's an existential existential question. And if they can do it in a way that's almost undetectable, and I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, I know everyone thought Stuxnet was this big Israeli. It really wasn't. I hate to say it. It pains me to say it. But I think for Israel, there's been a complete paradigm, shift. Meaning, it's like when your whole world is turned upside its head. For example, 9/11 for me, or the faithful husband coming in and seeing his wife with another man, and here he has this whole idea of this perfect love, and you have to first absorb that terrible reality, and I really believe that Israel has had to absorb that with Obama. And I think every plan that they had previously had America in that equation, always. And now it's a whole rethinking and maybe a whole realignment with other countries that are suffering, like India or even like China. I mean, Israel has to survive. That's all there is to it. Israel has to survive. And I assure you that when Iran is fully weaponized, they are going to use it. It's not a question of if there will be war. It's a question of when and with what. That's it.
I wish I had 5 minutes to talk with you, but basically, you are using Mark Levin's language when you're saying statist. There is no such thing. He is trying to protect Ronald Reagan's memory, who misused the word statist.
One question, one quick
meaning
thing.
state socialist.
I'm going to let you continue. We're going to let him continue, but I just want to interject. I hate to say it. I don't listen to Levin because he doesn't address my subject matter. You want to know where I picked up the word statist from? Ayn Rand. I just wanted you to know that. Go continue.
There's the factors are that Mark Levin is trying to protect Ronald Reagan's memory by using.
You have a question? You have a question?
That was a
Thank you.
statement.
Okay.
But I'm not Levin, so I mean, I think you should go to a Levin event and ask him about it.
I know.
That,
I just thank you for coming here to speak to us, and I'm glad you're on our side. My question to you is in regard to social media. You mentioned blogging, using Instagram. How do you best use social media to your advantage?
Okay, I have to tell you something, that the biggest feeder to Atlas now, and my website, I guess I get about 60,000 uniques a day, okay? So it's very important. I mean, even when Ovid was kicking and screaming with me, I was the kicking and screaming. I mean, it's very, very hard for me to lose chunks of time because it's only me at Atlas. And even though people don't really know about Atlas, they know about the ads, they know about the mosque, they know about even the books. Atlas is the mothership. PamelaGellar.com, AtlasShrugs.com is the mothership. The majority of my feed comes from Facebook. Facebook, and believe me, I have my issues with Facebook. They have suspended me because I ran a news story they didn't like. Okay, they have suspended so many people that have blogged things that they don't like. There are real problems with Facebook and YouTube also. You saw they took memory down. I mean, memory's an institute that just translates, for goodness sake. And they don't even run the gory. They don't run the jihad porn. You know, there's a lot of jihad porn out there because the jihadists love that. They love to see, oh, you're beheaded? Well, you know, even that attack on the Jewish day school. Remember the attack on the Jewish day school in Toulouse, France, where a devout Muslim went into a Jewish day school and started mowing down children, killed 3 children, and the rabbis, the headmaster. The jihadi was wearing a camera. And he, as soon as he was done, went home and posted his slaughter of the little blonde girl, Miriam. And of course, the authorities it took it down. But that jihad porn is very important to them. Memory doesn't do that, and YouTube took them down. So yes, I have real issues with these companies, but I cannot abandon the field. That's why it's so important. When something goes viral, I'll see a story, we'll get, let's say, 12,000 views or 20,000 views on YouTube, and then I see something, got 60. That's you. You send it to your friends. You posted it on your timeline. It is not enough for you to read a story, get the information, and say, okay. Because if that were the case, then I wouldn't have to blog. I read the information, I know it, and I can go on with my bad self. No, I have to share it with you. I have to share it with you because we have no mechanism, and we do not have leadership that supports this work. In 2004, when the blogs were new, and I was new, and Kerry was winning, and Dan Rather, the gold standard of journalism, released documents that said that he had failed to report, you know that whole thing. It was the blogs that exposed, that was our readers of Powerline, exposed that font wasn't even invented in the 70s, and it changed the course of the election. It changed the course. Now, any logical person in leadership of the GOP would have said, Halavai, God has answered us. We have a new way of getting to the people. We have new media. No, they were afraid of it. They were afraid of it because they couldn't control it. But the left, who never needed it, who never needed blogging because they owned everything, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, said, oh, we got an interloper in the house. And what did they do? They threw a ton of money into the net. They started Huffington Post, and now they own the net. And I blame us. And I blame us. I blame the GOP. I blame the GOP in 2008 when they had nominated Sarah Palin, who was as pure as the driven snow. Perfect girl. And everybody, because I was covering the RNC then, everybody was dying to see her. Everybody was dying to know her. Everybody wanted to know. She came onto the stage and the place was electric. I can't even begin to tell you. And so what should they have done? I'll tell you what they should have done. They should have done a meet and greet with Sarah Palin and the 10 biggest bloggers. Not me. I don't care about it. It's not about me. No. Listen. And people would have been forced. People would have been forced to go to the net. You would have had one of those Gutenberg moments. I call them Gutenberg moments, where all of a sudden something happens, the media won't cover it, and we get a ton of information. We get a ton of new readers. The Danish cartoons. That was my first, that's when I went from 400 people a day to 4,000 people a day, because the media wouldn't run the cartoons, but it was such a story because they were killing people all over the world and burning embassies because of those cartoons, those innocuous, stupid cartoons. So that's what they should have done. But what do? They threw her to the jackals and the hyenas, the Gibsons and the Curricks, the affable Ava Braun. We have missed more opportunities. Forget about it. You know what? Strong people don't need a strong man. Weak people need a strong man. Weak people need a strong leader. You're your own leader. We don't need those people. But when you see a story and you think people should know about it, you post it on your Facebook pages. I gave you a very long answer to a very short question.
Very good answer. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Gellar, I have to assure you that I'll speak with an accent substantially stronger than yours. Number one, I teach the ideology and strategy of radical Islam. Number two, I've got my PhD from Institute of International Relations, Moscow, Russia. And number three, I have only one question for you, but deadly important. Imagine for a second, you are the President of the United States. How you'll handle the Russian-Ukrainian conflict? Because, let me tell you something, Russia is on the highest possible place on the agenda of radical Islam in order to be destroyed. Russian soldiers suffered the same amount of casualties like the American soldiers in Afghanistan. What I'm talking about is the battlefield, the Islamic guerrilla in the Caucasian mountains area. Thank you.
Well, he's right. We know this. We know this because of the bombing of the Moscow train station. Actually, it was Volgograd, Stalingrad. And the really, I can't begin to describe to you the attack on Beslan, a children's school, what they did to those children. I mean, the sexual torture of little children, I won't discuss with you, but I'm telling you, you don't understand this enemy, and you don't want to. The gentleman is right. He says, how would I handle it? Well, let me just say this, if I may. First of all, if I was president, we wouldn't be here having this conversation about the Ukraine and Russia and it getting as bad as it did. I mean, when Sarah Palin said, and everyone made fun of her, I can see Russia from my backyard, it was not a funny joke. I got it. She means it's not in another universe. It's right here. I mean, it's dangerously close. And I believe that it's Obama's weakness that is really evil loves a vacuum. Evil always wins by default, just for knowing. So how would you handle Ukraine? It's all melting down. It's all melting down now, and I don't believe that Russia should be destroyed by the same token, but I also don't believe they should go into Estonia, and I don't believe that they should try and rebuild what happened before. And you're right, I have not written about this. And the reason why I didn't write about this is because when I saw thousands of Muslims marching against Russia in the Ukraine, I was like, wait a minute, I got to get a handle on this situation. I mean, I need to understand why, but it's true. The Muslim supremacists are marching against Russia because they want very much to take over Russia. What is the population there of Muslims? Isn't it like 20% or something?
Yeah.
I mean, France is 10, and look what happened to France. I mean, we're at 2%, and we're having this conversation. Wait till America's at 10%. You're going to remember today. You're going to remember today like it was yesterday. But that's the best I could tell you. That's the best I could tell you. It's a bad situation. I think it's got as bad as it did because he wasn't a strong hand. Look, this didn't happen overnight. Why did he abandon missile defense? Okay, for the Eastern European countries, because Putin didn't want him to. So what? We do things Putin doesn't like. Putin does things, but it's a begrudging respect. Okay, he gave everything away for nothing. He got nothing from that. He got nothing for abandoning missile defense. But our allies, they're caught with their pants down. Every non-nuclear country, like Japan, like Saudi Arabia, that relied on America under her umbrella of protection, is now scrambling. That's what I'm saying. The world is in. It's like a stroke. We're still infarcting. It's still all blowing out. We haven't hit ground yet on what's going on in the world. It's not going to end with Ukraine. It's not going to end with Ukraine. It's not going to end with Syria. I mean, it's really going to get very, very hot. It's going to get very hot very fast because, look, I've been writing about this for 10 years. So this stuff didn't happen overnight. But by having a very weak leader in America, who I believe has wanted to bring America down to size. Even when he was in Europe, before he was elected, and they said, do you believe in American exceptionalism? And he says, well, I believe in American exceptionalism as much as I believe in British exceptionalism, French exceptionalism. When he does that like a Frank Sinatra thing. But the fact of the matter is, there is American exceptionalism. What is American exceptionalism? It's individual exceptionalism. That's what it's not that we're special people and everything. No. It's that we exalt the individual. We respect the individual. Equality for all before the law. That is why we became the greatest nation on earth. That is why we are who we are to this point. It's the exceptionalism of the individual. It's the respect of the individual. That's what American exceptionalism is. And I'm saying it to a stage in Ramona, but it should have been the President of the United States saying it to the millions watching when he spoke. I think it was was it Britain or Turkey, one of those countries. But this to me is the problem, that we got here because he was so weak. There's a void. There's a major void. I don't know. That's not maybe enough of an answer for you, but it's how I feel.
Hi, I just wanted you to comment on Al Jazeera Radio.
First of all, I just want to say that she's wearing the most fashionable frock.
She does it all the time.
No, she really is. Well, first of all, let me say this. I have been waging my own personal campaign along with Cliff Kincaid against Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera is a propaganda arm. Al Jazeera is the Muslim Brotherhood. It's like Al-Manar. Al-Manar is a television station of Hezbollah, yes? And Al-Manar has been designated a terrorist organization. Al-Manar is a terrorist, a propaganda advancing organization. That's what Al Jazeera is. And for Al Jazeera to be broadcast on American television across the country is, first of all, you can't get Sun TV. You know, Sun TV is a Canadian television station that's very, very pro-freedom. As Ezra Levant has shows and Michael Corrin has shows. We can't get, okay? But Al Jazeera can buy current TV, and I'll tell you something. Al Gore ought to be hung for treason. Because he wouldn't entertain a buy from Glenn Beck. He would not entertain a buy from Glenn Beck. But he sold it to Al Jazeera, which is Muslim Brotherhood, which, I mean, is a drop-off point for Al-Qaeda, even in the movie. You saw that movie, Zero Dark 30? When they were determined on the grid of information, if he was there, one of the points in support of the fact that he was in Abbottabad was that there was an Al Jazeera station down the block for him to make his drop-offs, his propaganda tapes. I mean, what are we thinking? It's outrageous to me that it's on Time Warner. Al Jazeera is on Time Warner, New York City. What do I think of it? Go onto YouTube. You'll see my speech at the National Press Club. You'll see my demonstration. I mean, we begged all we asked for was a hearing, a congressional hearing into Al Jazeera, who they were, who was behind them, and what should they be allowed on the airwaves. We couldn't get, and believe me, my people, just like you, they were calling, because I always post who you call, what you say, this is what you do. It's money. At the end of the day, it was money, and people said, "Oh, he bought it for like how much? $500 million." And boy, isn't that cheap? Really? I mean, isn't that a lot of money? You know, wasn't it a lot of money? They overpaid because they have 60,000 viewers. Current TV had 60,000 viewers, and they paid an enormous amount. And I'm telling you, they paid bupkis because they got into the majority of homes in America. And that's pretty priceless, if you ask me. So, like I said, we're under siege by the media, by the culture, remember those Serbian terrorists, and by academia. They went into teaching, the leftists went into teaching, the money, millions from the Sauds, built chairs at Georgetown, built chairs, the Edward Said chair at Columbia, at Harvard. Our children are literally hostage, really, really hostage. It's quite terrible, but it's terrible because people don't know about it and people are not doing anything about it. I believe that once people know about it, we can't be stopped. We need to raise armies.
Pamela, we've got about 15 minutes left for questions because we want to have time for the book signing and then we have to clear out.
You got to buy the book. You got to buy the book. No, I'm telling you, because the book will give you, people really, I've seen this more times. People say, what do I do? I can't solve this problem. What do I do? The fact is, why do people think of it in this way? Does a doctor say, oh, I can't cure all the people in the world, so I won't cure anybody? I mean, you treat who you can treat. That's what you do. It's beautiful. It's good. If everybody treats, we'll have a very healthy world. Oh, you're going to be seriously inoculated, baby.
Pamela, I need to ask a question, but first of all, I have to preface it by I have a big blog on the internet, just my own family, and they hate me because I continually am bashing Obama and bashing Islam.
It's really love. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah, but I have a way, whenever I speak of the problems that we have with the media, I no longer say media. I say Pravda USA. Am I wrong in saying that?
Well, the only reason why you're wrong is because Pravda was state-run media, and everybody knew it. And everybody in Russia, if you read Natan Sharansky, the double think, you would think, what you were allowed to think and what you were supposed to think. And the double speak, what you didn't say and what you were supposed to say. Ours is voluntary state-run. Yeah. I mean, that to me is really so much more egregious. They are doing this in the service, basically a slave master. When you nationalize 20% of the economy and you force half of the working population to support the other half, one's a slave and one's the enslaved. That's slavery, in my mind.
How do you walk in those shoes?
I was born in these shoes.
Basically, I just wanted to be in the front of the line to get my book signed, but I want to congratulate you for making the Southern Poverty Law Center's hate list. I'm on that list also. Yeah, I'm the Ruth Institute. I'm an official gay basher now. I didn't know I was, but I am.
Mazel tov.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. And
if I may say, I'm not just one on the. I'm on their list 5 times.
Good for you.
Atlas Shrugs, Pamela Gellar, American Freedom Defense Initiative, Stop Islamization of America, and Stop Islamization of Nations. 1 girl, 5 groups. That's crazy time.
Well, you've given me something to work for, and I'm just going to wait to get my book signed.
Do you know that the Department of, was it the FBI? The FBI. I think it's the FBI, forgive me, removed, just removed the Southern Poverty Law Center from their website as one of their partners. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a victory.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
My question is about these young men that go over to Syria, these young Muslim men. And I can't find anywhere on the web, are they salaried in any way? And if they are salaried, how much do they get? I don't think they're volunteers. I think they volunteer to go, but I think they get a paycheck. And then when they come back to Western countries, do they declare that on their income tax? I can't find any information about that.
Well, actually, he points to a very, I think, a very scary problem where we are seeing just this gentleman that I mentioned before, Nicholas Toussaint, who was the national reservist, okay, who converted and went jihad, was on his way to Syria. There's been, they say, I've been able to document 100. I believe it's far more than that. I know it's thousands in Europe, and of course in Canada as well, because, and again, they're misunderstanding. They're all reading the same thing the same way, and they're all misunderstanding in the same way. They think that we're stupid. I mean, in order for us to believe such a thing. But I think what happens is they make their way there on their own dime. Once they get there, there are camps, training camps, and I don't think they're paying rent there. But you have to understand that for many, many, many of these jihadists, it's an ideological, it's a mission cause that they're on.
Do they get a stipend or anything like that?
Look, they've really perfected the stipend getting. Like, there's a whole series of instructions for Muslims that go to the UK, for example, and get entitlements. I mean, even the worst preachers are on entitlements in the UK. The UK pays you for every wife that you have. Why would they encourage polygamy? Why would they encourage that? I don't understand. We have a polygamy problem here in the States, but in the Muslim community, I don't know about the Mormon community. I hear that there is. I don't know, can't speak to it. This is what I do. I only have 24 hours in the day. But the fact is that they in many cases, know our system better than we do. And we're the ones underwriting it. We're the ones who underwrite it. When they come and they get student aid for school and so on and so forth, they know how to work the system. They really do.
The fighters, the jihadis over in Syria, for example, would they not be under getting some kind of zakat from various mosques, and therefore they'd have an income? I imagine they have some kind of income. And then when they come back, wouldn't they have to declare
You know,
that
it's
income?
funny. Yeah, well, here you're talking about a government that Obama said that he was going to open up to make sure all the zakat, which is Islamic charity, was getting to the charities.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what he's talking about. Islamic charities, in many, many cases, are funding jihad. Right. That whole Holy Land Foundation trial was the largest terrorist funding trial in our nation's history. They were funding Hamas. So, yes, of course, that money is going to that. Now, is our government going to do anything about it? Why hasn't the Department of Justice prosecuted those 300 Muslim groups named in the Holy Land Foundation case? I'll tell you why. They scuttled those prosecutions. There's a mountain of evidence, and I think that the next president should run on that platform. Not only that platform, but run on the platform that anyone that funds, supports, and aids jihad will be prosecuted. But Holder is not. Holder is not prosecuting. He's not. He's not prosecuting.
They're evading their income tax if they don't pay their tax on that zakat.
Yes, okay. The IRS is busy monitoring this group. They're not monitoring the jihadi groups. I mean, we got to work within the realm of reality right now. The reality right now.
Pamela, this will be our last question. Most of this line is for signing books.
And I'm happy to sign and answer any questions when I'm signing.
Thank you for coming today. My question is, if jihad is one of the pillars of Islam, and if beleaguer the infidels and lay siege for them where you can and smite them at the neck are the teachings of Islam, why do we continue to call it radical? Aren't they following the fundamentals of Islam?
If I may say, I didn't name this conference, you did. I don't call it radical. I don't. It's not. He's right. The true radicals are the Muslim reformers that wish to reinterpret and reform Islam. The problem is, unlike the First Testament and the Old Testament and the New Testament, the Quran is the word of Allah. It's uncreated, which means you cannot reinterpret it, you cannot reform it, and if you attempt to do it, you are a hypocrite. Yeah. And hypocrisy is punishable by death. So it is not. What these young men and these young women, in some cases, are following is pure Islam. It's authentic Islam. The true radicals are those that wish to change it. And you see, they have no legs in the Muslim community because they do not have a theological leg to stand on. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela.
I just need a hand.
Thank you. Okay, she's going to